I was once at my grandparents' place, shuffling in the attic, when I found this peculiar, unlabeled little booklet. The booklet was chock full of 1,000 different little drawings of 1,000 different things. Great! That's amazing learning material, I thought, as I proceeded to copy the ever-living hell out of it. After all, copying is a good way to learn, right? Before I knew it, none of my drawings looked right anymore, and I didn't know why. I became frustrated because I wasn't having fun drawing anymore, and I gave up for a little while. It was like that little booklet had killed my ability to draw. That was me being stuck in tutorial hell. For those of you that don't know, tutorial hell is a hell of tutorials. Tutorial hell is a state where you're stuck in a cycle of constantly consuming tutorials without learning anything, making you completely dependent on them. It's that one kid in class that's drawing nothing but eyes all the time, or the programmer that has to keep Googling for tutorials to do anything, and so he doesn't understand what he's doing. Sometimes you don't even notice it because you're under the impression that you're learning. To effectively escape tutorial hell and make sure it doesn't happen again, we first have to understand why it happens in the first place. So, tutorial hell. Why, eh? Well, the problem is, you're gaining knowledge, but not understanding. You're just memorizing someone else's manual. If the result is slightly off, you don't know why, or how to fix it, or worse, how to learn from your mistake. You're stuck until you watch your next tutorial, and then the next one, and so on. Okay, so does that mean if you stop watching tutorials, you'll automatically start getting better? Not necessarily. One reason is low quality content, where the creator doesn't explain the what, why, or how. If they do, that's prime learning material though, and we call those lessons, not tutorials. I mean, that's the whole premise of them. I won't teach you X, I'll just give you instructions to follow. Now, blaming others for your lack of understanding is one thing, but really, the cause doesn't lie outwards, but inwards. You have the wrong mindset. When we search up, for example, how to draw X, really what we mean is, give me instructions on how to draw X so it looks good now. What we should really be asking is, what must I learn next so I can draw X better from now on? Notice how we changed from an outward, immediate, result-based question to an inward, long-term, process-oriented one. Having a result-oriented mindset is detrimental because you're neglecting the process. It's like saying you want to be rich without doing any hard work, or saying you want 6 packs without doing exercise. And so you become prone to giving up. On the other hand, if you have a process-oriented mindset, you're practically immune to it. If an obstacle gets in your way, you no longer see it as an obstacle, but part of the journey. So, start seeing learning not as instructions, but as experience. Look at people better than you. Not with envy, with passion. Observe and analyze everything they do, and do it yourself. Another thing to do would be to try to derive solutions yourself. Like, at least give it a try before reaching for answers. For example, I find it helpful to think of how I might implement an algorithm before searching it up. I feel like it gives me a new layer of understanding I wouldn't have gained otherwise. So don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. In fact, prefer it. You'll learn more and it will stick with you better. Remember, there is no shortcut to the path of mastery. One day, I revisited that old booklet I found in the attic and realized something. There was no text, no notes, no explanations. No, look at me guys, I can draw this one specific thing really well. There was no need for text. It wasn't a quick tutorial in the first place. Just that realization really helped me trigger a mindset shift. This was someone's sketchbook. They went through a similar journey, and now it's time for me to learn from them. So this time around, I decided to actually observe and analyze it. Their style, their technique, the choices that went into each drawing, and how I might apply those things. And it worked. It reignited my passion for drawing. And most importantly, some random drawing notebook I randomly found was now more impactful to my development than any designated how to draw a book I read or tutorial I watched. You know that feeling when you're bored in class and you randomly doodle some goofy little thing on the side of a page and it's actually quite nice? Like you're not putting much effort or thought into it, but you're actually having fun and the drawing even looks kinda good. But later, when you try to draw it for real, it's not as fun, or maybe it doesn't look as good. Why? Well, because when you're doodling, you let your mind flow. Right then, your mind was actually playing. This gets me to my next point. Experimentation and interaction build understanding and intuition. Practice tests them. And by practice, I mean putting into practice. Speaking the language you're learning with locals, creating a full artistic piece with a new technique or concept you learned, taking part in competitions. I'm willing to bet that a lot of you have only been trying to do the practice side of things, again because of that result-oriented mindset. And, you know, testing your understanding is important, don't get me wrong. But if you do it all the time, you're not allowing your mind to build it in the first place. Or at least, it'll be harder. What you need is to allocate time and space to experiment and interact with the thing you're learning. Tinker with it. Get to know it better. Let your mind breathe. And what better way to do this than by playing around with it? I call these playground spaces. A playground space is, well, a playground for your mind. It's a place where you can regularly and freely experiment with whatever you want without distractions or caring about failure. So, like a place to practice. Well, yeah, you gotta practice to learn, alright? That seems obvious, but you'd be surprised at how many people neglect this, especially in learning stuff like language or arts. It could be a keyboard to try different chord progressions on, simply spending time with a friend that can speak whatever language you're learning or is more experienced than you in a certain field, or just a piece of paper to spill your mind on. And your playground space doesn't have to look good or professional. Don't overthink it. We're not trying to show off here. Who cares if it's incoherent or cringe, they're the doodles of your mind. Of course it will be chaotic. What's important is that it's just you and yourself, trying things out, practicing, experimenting without a care about failure, playing. And you'll soon realize how liberating it is. For example, I do this in the form of a general purpose notebook I carry around everywhere I go. In it, I scribble down random ideas, notes, inspirations, concepts, sketches, designs, heck, even entire storylines. Whatever comes to my mind when it occurs to me. It acts as a place for me to spill out creative ideas before I lose grip on them, without any distractions. And as a result, my ideas and thoughts feel clearer. If you're gonna do this, I do recommend just good old pencil and paper instead of digitally. I feel like things just flow out better that way, and I'm sure many people can agree with me on this. Also, there's something empowering about pulling out a notebook when I'm bored, while everyone else plunges themselves into social media. Anyways, all of that is if you care about gaining understanding. If you don't care and you just want to quickly search up something, then go ahead. But long term, it will always be better to have a process-oriented mindset instead of a result-oriented one, and to spend time playing around with whatever you're learning. I hope you learned something today. Bye.